next guest became America's youngest sommelier at the tender age of 21.
And since then, she's climbed her way to the top of the wine industry, and now she's sharing her journey in her new book, Wine Girl. Please welcome author and sommelier Victoria James.
So, Victoria, tell us more about this, because the legal drinking age in the States is 21. So we want to know how you developed this love for wine as this underage New Yorker, right? Like, how did this all come to be?
So, a little background. I did not come from a wine-drinking family. My grandmother drank White Zinfandel from the box. My mother doesn't drink at all, and my father, has like vodka with a suggestion of orange juice. So, for me, when I entered the restaurant world at 13 as a diner waitress, worked my way up to bartending, and I realized I quickly knew nothing about wine. And so I was interested. I took a wine course. I read a wine book. And then all of a sudden it clicked. This was a way to further connect with guests. And it was all about also smelling the wine. I mean, yes, you can drink as well, but actually most of the flavor comes from just smelling. And I read a lot as well. So by the time I turned 21, I was ready to take my exam.
Wow. Okay, so let's go back, because you, as you mentioned, wine wasn't a big thing in your family. You didn't even know what the word sommelier meant. So what was it? What was that moment that made you think, oh, I want to pursue this as a profession?
Yeah, I don't think most young women dream of being sommeliers. And certainly I did not. And I was reading about wine, and I thought the whole thing was fascinating. A bottle of wine is a story. It talks about centuries of tradition, people, the place. And then all of a sudden, I came across this word, sommelier. And so I Googled it, and I was like, this is a job? People drink wine for a living? I'm in.
So you're 21 and you land this amazing role as a wine sommelier at this posh New York restaurant, and you became the youngest wine sommelier in America. But this is not something that you were going around telling people about. You didn't want to kind of adopt that as a badge of honor. Why was that?
Well, it's the name of the book as well. So it was a slur I was often called, send over the wine girl. And so I tried to reclaim that in the title of the book. And when I first became a sommelier at 21, I already didn't fit in. I was a woman in an old boys club, and being young did not make it any better. So I kept my age a secret for years, and I didn't want people to look down on me. And I think this is something that no matter what industry you're in, you can relate to. You're young, you're just starting out, and you want to be taken seriously.
You actually write it quite about a bit in the book about the sexism that you've experienced in the industry. And you actually write, I often faced men who did not like a girl telling them what wine they should buy. So that's from the customers. You've alluded to the fact that there was a lot of sexism within the sommelier industry itself. So what, can you go into some of those prejudices that you experienced and discrimination that you experienced?
Yeah, so from guests, it would range from comments such as that to assault and abuse. And from within this industry as well, I mean, I've been assaulted by bosses, by customers, and even things as like during wine competitions or in classes, people saying things like, oh, who invited the wine girl? Is this some sort of effort at diversification, or what's Barbie doing here? So it was really difficult. It really was.
But you say, Victoria, in this world, even though it was dominated by men, that it was women who made it specifically and particularly difficult for you. Explain, how did that work?
I think that was the most disheartening.
Yeah.
I thought, women would have my back. But there was this one instance in particular with a customer in which she complained about my sexual advances tableside, when really I just walked up to the table. And so after that, I thought I should cut my long hair and wear 4 layers of clothing to hide any bump whatsoever. And I would always address the females first when going to the table. And now I'm married, so I'm just like, I'm taken, ladies. I'm not trying to steal your man.
Wow.
Well,
clearly you've made it through. You're a success, and you then decided to take on a position, a full-time position at a very like elegant, classy fine dining restaurant in New York. It's called Maria, and the client list includes people like Tina Fey and the Clintons and Mariah Carey. So can you share any of those stories with us, specifically about Mariah Carey? That'd be great.
So I'll preface this by saying, love Mariah. But there was this one year that we had planned a Christmas party, and we had to cancel it because she came hours late for her reservation. And I still have flashbacks about this. She made us play her Christmas album on repeat over and over again.
It's on brand.
I think it's only one song. And she would speak in the third person. She was like, oh, Mariah loves Prosecco. And so, you know, I mean, yes, I do still have flashbacks, but it also made me realize that, you know, I was really a servant. You know, just because you're serving important people doesn't necessarily make you important.
Well, you're now the wine and beverage director at a New York restaurant called Cote, and yeah. You've assembled the wine list and thought a lot about this, and it's quite there's quite a lot on there. So when somebody comes to your restaurant, how do you start to like decide what might suit them?
Yes, so a lot of people don't know this, and it's in the book, but most restaurants, fine dining in particular, and Michelin-starred restaurants, will do detective work beforehand. So the reservations department will look at your Facebook page, your Instagram page. They'll consult a whole database compiled from other restaurants about your preferences, your birthdays, if you have a puppy at home. And why do we do this? It's so as soon as you walk in the restaurant, we continue to scan you for clues like a detective. What are you wearing? Do you have a manicure? Do you want ice in your water? All of these will help us decide what to serve you and how. And the goal is not to be creepy. The goal is to give you the best experience possible. So you leave saying, wow, I can't wait to go back there.
That's really cool. So, as a sommelier, you taste like every bottle of wine that comes in through the restaurant's doors, and so you obviously, some of them are like thousands of dollars worth. But so we have to, before we let you go, we have to know, what are you drinking right now?
So right now I'm drinking a lot of white Burgundy, and I think it's this amazing wine because it tastes like hazelnuts and honey and butterscotch, and it just melts in your mouth.
Oh, right.
Well, we know what we're doing this weekend. Victoria, it's so enlightening. This is so neat to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.